sectional charts, the north end of the sectional charts.
This is a reminder to 8th graders, we need your baking photos. Please put in your baking photos in a two-sentence congratulatory statement by Friday, March 2nd. Send it electronically or turn in a hard copy. For more instructions, look at the school webpage. Also, yearbook flyers are available for pre-ordering at the office. Turn in order with payment to Karen. And an announcement for our 5 finalists for the spelling bee. We will have our final rounds in the library today at noon. There will be no entry to the library to cheer them on once we begin the bee.
Let's see.
So if you want to cheer your friends on, make sure you get there a little bit early. And the 5 finalists, please show up a little bit before noon. Have a great day.
All right, now, you all have successfully found the south end of the sectional map. Which end are you supposed to be on? The north end. All right, so here's what we do. Let's take a look, first of all. Tell me that you guys have looked at this before you walked in today. Okay. So here's the deal. Take a look at the front of your Denver sectional charts. Take a look at the front. First of all, let me just apologize to you guys. I am in the game today, but I am playing hurt. So, yeah. So, Denver sectional. Take a look at this little thing that we call the legend. All right? So, do you guys have this found? Where it says legend? All right. The reason that we want to look at this is because this is the road map for our air map. All right? Now, at the very top of this, you see something. You see black arrows on the sides with this thing that says north one way, south the other way. If when you fold this map open, you fold it in that direction, you will go to that direction. Make sense? So when you open the map, if you open this map and you fold it open to the right, you'll get the north side. If you fold it open to the left, you're going to get the south side. Now, we want the north side. If you're looking at the bottom and you see a scale of miles, statute miles and nautical miles, you're looking at the south end. Got it? Okay. Would you use this sectional map today for navigation?
No.
Why not?
Because it's usually only VFR. It's used for VFR only.
Okay, that's right. Today is going to be definitely an IFR day here. But, Diego?
It was last effective on January 1st.
It expired. Okay? That is the very first thing you look at. You look at, first of all, which sectional it is. Now, you'll notice that we call this one the Denver sectional. So if you call something the Denver sectional, you suppose there might be some other sectional maps out there? Okay? A bunch of sectional maps. If you look at the front of this guide and you look at the picture of the lower 48, you see these little squares, kind of square. They're not actually square, but they sort of are. They're a square if you would try to draw one on a sphere. And you look at this, you can see that there are a bunch of these sectional maps. Right? Now then, when you look at that map, you will also see these dark blue squares. Well, they're actually kind of magenta. I apologize. They're magenta. And you see those magenta squares? Take a look at those two magenta squares that are kind of in part of your sectional map. You see those? So what do you think that might be? The white lines, they're at the north end of this. And guys, here's the thing, and I don't know what happened here, but I have a thing where I'm supposed to be able to pull this up on this screen so that you guys watching at home can see this, but for whatever reason now today, it's not working, and I don't know why. So we're able to see it here in the classroom, but not here online. And so on this, guys, I do apologize. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in here into roughly what is going to be this Denver sectional. Now, if you look up here, what I have on the big screen, and you look over here with what you have on your maps, you can see that they're similar. The difference here is that on ForeFlight, what I'm doing is I'm showing a sectional map on ForeFlight, but on the overlay of the sectional map, I also have weather. So I'm going to pull the weather out, and I'm also going to take the street map out. Now I have an FAA sectional map. Everybody see that?
Does that one automatically update on ForeFlight?
Yes. And it's one of the question was, does the ForeFlight automatically update? Yes, it does. Well, what it does is that it downloads, it will let you know when you have the new information and the new downloads. And then what it will do is it will ask you, do you want to load them? The reason it asks you if you want to load them, God, hang on. The reason it asks you if you want to download them is because you all are aware, well, those of you with Apple products, you guys are aware of how many times they change the updates, the software updates. Before this can be used, the ForeFlight piece can be used for navigation, ForeFlight has to go in there and they have to test everything against the new Apple updates that they have. So anytime that you're updating your software, then you have to wait. If you're using ForeFlight, you have to wait until ForeFlight sends you an email saying, all clear. So you don't want to automatically download it because it may not be compatible with the latest software updates that Apple has yet. So you wait until they give you the update to update your iPad, your phone, you know, the things that you're using here with ForeFlight 4. Once we start getting into the cross-country stuff here, guys, and that's what this is the first step of, we start tying all of this stuff together. I'm going to show you all how to do it the cowboy way. Then I'll show you how to do it the Tony Stark way. But you've got to understand the underlying math and science behind all of this before you just start pushing buttons. Because again, I mentioned this before, the goal here is for you to become pilot in command. If you just blindly start pushing buttons and accepting what this little electronic tablet tells you, well, now you're flying around with iPad in command. No thank you. Okay? So that's kind of what we have here. So, first of all, what sectional am I looking at? Is it expired?
Yes.
How often do they publish these? Don't guess. Take a look. How long was it good for? 6 months. So how often do you think they publish them? Okay, right at about 6 months. Why do you think they update these every 6 months? Kylie had her hand up.
Just in case things change.
Oh, it's not in case.
When they change.
It is when things change.
It'll be more like, yeah.
What do we know? What do we know is changing? Story.
The seasons and like the weather. With the seasons.
That weather doesn't affect this at all.
Okay.
Rules.
What's that?
Rules maybe?
Like airports being changed, like adding runways or
Okay.
like airspace or restricted areas.
There can be airspace issues. There can be airport issues. What else will there be?
I was just going to say infrastructure in general.
Somewhat.
Yeah.
Let's just say that all of a sudden now in the last 6 months they put a wind farm up on the ridge of a mountain.
Right.
Think you might want to know where that is?
Yeah.
Yep. How about this? Remember your instruments. Remember the magnetic compass. What did I tell you about magnetic north? It moves around. Somewhere between 32, 33 miles a year moving toward Russia. Okay? So when magnetic north changes, what else changes?
The line of deviation.
Say that again, Gavin.
The line of magnetic deviation.
Not deviation. Variation. Lines of variation. You kind of see how you kind of have to bring all of this stuff together here with all these things. Those lines of magnetic variation move. And in order for you to get your magnetic course or a magnetic heading to fly a particular course, if you have wind, you've got to know what your adjustment is for your magnetic variation. And you have to know that as you fly. So that changes all the time. Okay, now, as we look here at the front, notice this. Notice the fronts of these maps. Notice that it's not just a straight line between Canada and the United States. ¿Por qué? Say that again, Kylie. Come on, speak loud.
Earth is a globe, it's circular.
Earth is a sphere, kind of, ish, an ellipse. Yeah. Okay? So we have some form of spherical navigation at work here, right? But wait a minute. I've seen a zillion maps that show a straight line. What am I looking at there?
In case people cross the border.
Magnetic.
All right. Now, do you also remember me telling you
Different types of maps.
different types of maps? One of the oldest types of maps were something that we refer to as a Mercator projection. Mercator projection. Now, that worked pretty well in the seafaring days when you're somewhere near the equator. But it doesn't worth a flip when you're in the air over it and you're anywhere from the mid-latitudes up. The math kind of falls apart. And what it does is that it artificially distorts land masses. So, what I mean by that is this. Let's take a peek here. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Guys, it's just going to be a day. I really think it's going to be a day.
Positive. 8:22 a.m. You can do it.
I'm trying to stay positive, hon. Why? I am just about to take a hostage. Oh.
My brother didn't want to do it, and I bought it for him. $65. He's an eighth grader. So good for me. I really need.
All right, so let's take a peek here. This is a Mercator projection. That red line in the center is what? The equator. All right, now, you can see how things look pretty blockish there at the equator, correct? As you get north of the equator, now they become more rectangular, right? Also, I want you to take a look at something here. Remember I said that in a Mercator projection, which is just a flat surface thing, you know, go Columbus. You know, we're here at the, going to sail off the edge of the world because, of course, the Earth is flat. Here's what happens. Remember, it distorts the actual size of the land masses the further north you get. So I want you to take a look at Greenland and Australia. You can see Greenland up here. You can see Australia down here. How much bigger is Greenland than Australia?
It's not bigger in real life.
Some are saying that it's not bigger in real life, but how much bigger does it look?
A lot.
It looks about 3 times the size of Australia, right? So would it surprise you to know that the actual land mass of Greenland is about 800,000 square miles? And the land mass of Australia is almost 3.2 million square miles. See what I'm saying? Now then, can you understand why this could be a problem if we used this type of map for any form of spherical transportation? Okay? This is kind of how things kind of get messed up. So we go back to then the map here, and again, guys, I'm apologizing that this thing is not working the way that it's supposed to work. But if we go back here and we look, and we see now that we have a nice little curve along here, this type of map that we use for aviation travel, we call these Lambert conic conformal projections. If you take a look here somewhere, you will see something on the front of this thing, and I don't have my glasses on here. But it'll be and I always forget if it's Lambert conic conformal or if it's conformal conic projection. I always get those two turned around. But it represents the actual curvature of the Earth. Well, now we got something. Because now with this, we actually have a map that is going to represent a true landmass. What is the biggest problem in trying to use a Mercator projection if you're doing your flight planning? What's the biggest problem? Well, there's several, but what do you think? Yes, dear.
Distances will be destroyed, so you won't be able to plan for fuel consumption and things like that.
The distortion of distance will create a fuel issue. Let's say that you're doing this for a living and you tell somebody, okay, we're going to land at 10 o'clock.
Yeah,
Time.
And then also with weather, because you might be in a different location than you previously thought.
Yep. Okay.
You're just it's not accurate with where you actually are in respect to the land.
That's correct. But what this does, what that map does, and the reason that it still exists is bragging rights. What this does, that is exactly what it is. Because what it does is that it makes certain European countries look bigger than they actually are. So for instance, if we look at this, we see, the whole northern part of Asia is just humongous. But it's Africa that's the biggie.
Right.
So, and again, they do that just because it makes them look better. Accuracy be darned. All right? So we look back here, this big beautiful ball of ours, and we have to know that what we're working with here is a Lambert conic conformal projection. And that's what we use for aviation. So when we do, we take a look at these maps. What is one of the first things when you look at this map that kind of jumps out at you when you're just looking at the map by itself? I'm sorry?
The red shapes.
Red shapes, what do you mean?
Magenta boxes and circles.
Okay, you got boxes and circles, okay, kind of defining some airspace stuff, right, Gavin? What do we call that? Topography. So now we can actually take a look, because of the shading, at the topography. If we look at the inside portion on the back side of your legend, you see a topography but coloring scale. Okay? Do you guys see that? And that kind of tells you, when you're looking at this map, this is the range of the altitudes that you're going to be looking at for this particular sectional map. It's going to be green as the further south you get. So you start looking down here, you'll notice what color it is down here in New Orleans, because everything down here is closer to sea level. It's kind of green. Then the higher it gets, the browner it gets. And that brown stuff represents what? Granite. Right? So that's what we're looking at there. Now, we'll take a look at a representation of this sectional map here. Kids, we got a lot of granite. We got a lot of things out there that could stop an airplane pretty quick. So our goal is DHN, Delta Hotel November. Don't hit nothing, right? That's what we're after. Whether it is VFR or IFR. And right now, we're just talking about VFR. These are VFR maps, but they're also useful in the IFR world. But in the IFR world, we use something else. Tomorrow, you're going to bring those. Your low altitude en route charts. Okay? Tomorrow, you'll bring your low altitude en route charts, because they look a lot different. But for this is kind of what we're after here. Turn this over now, and I want you to look here at the legend. Take a look at the legend. You got this here? All right. Take a look in the upper left-hand corner. Tyler, what do we got up there?
You have airports.
Airports. Okay, in that top left box, we have airports. What's the difference? By the way, all of this is going to be on your next quiz. Just saying. So what's the difference?
Private versus public. Red is kind of blue is public.
Part of it. That's part of it. What's the difference between the blue and the magenta?
Oh, okay. Airports having control towers are in blue,
Ah,
and all others are in magenta.
ah. So, if from a communication standpoint, I can tell at a glance if I'm going to be talking to somebody right there at the airport itself, or if I'm going to be self-announcing.
Okay.
Got that so far? Now then, if you look then at the various shapes of these airports, what do we got? The round circles. What do we have?
Other than hard surface runways.
Feel free to read aloud.
Other than hard surface runways,
Okay, so what does that mean?
that means like fields, grass.
Could be a grass strip.
gravel,
Okay, it could be a grass strip. Take a look at that anchor over there to the right. What could that be?
Seaplane bays.
Seaplanes. All right. Now, next line down, we have the filled in circles. They're magenta filled in and the blue kind of filled in. What do we got?
Hard surface runways, 1,500 feet to 8,069 feet.
Ding, 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 ding. Test question. Test question. Now, take a look at the ones that just have rectangular shapes. They're not a circle at all, but they just kind of shows runways. So what does that tell us?
Hard surface runways greater than 8,069 feet, or some multiple runways of less than 8,069 feet.
I do want to thank the girls sitting here at the front left here. Your right, my left, for participating today. Gentlemen, feel free to jump in. That is correct. Now, why is it that that would be good to know at a glance if you're looking at a sectional map?
Maybe because
Now, you're going to find more detail in the AFD, which, by the way, make sure you bring that with you tomorrow as well, AFDs. You're going to find more detail because what is your responsibility as the pilot in command? To know everything about regulations. What is it?
Your airport that you plan on landing and a backup airport that you might have to land at.
For instrument flight, that is absolutely the case. For VFR, you don't necessarily have to have a backup, but you should.
Yeah.
But for this is part of the things that you have to know is all information about the runway, including runway lengths, right? So you can tell at a glance by looking at these runways that are not in a circle that they're going to be at least 8,069 feet, right? So you got to know that. I'm looking for something here because this. FAA.gov. Write this down. FAA.gov. Search box. Aeronautical Chart User's Guide. FAA.gov Aeronautical Chart User's Guide. You can download that for free. Do it. I'm sorry? PDF. The reason that you need to do this I'm sorry, guys. Man. Yeah, and you're all sitting there thinking, aren't you the same big bald man that told us never to come to class when you're sick? Yeah, I get it. Why do you think I'm asking you to download from FAA.gov the Aeronautical Chart User's Guide? And you just type that into the search box, and that'll get you where you need to go. There are things in this map that the legend doesn't cover. And it would be so like a flight examiner to ask you a question about some of those things. Specifically here in our neck of the woods. Okay? So part of your homework assignment this evening is to download that guide, and I want you to walk yourself through these sectional charts. So that you understand what's what. Okay? Now that you're going to download that, let's take another peek here now at this map that you guys have pulled out here. Look at the legend. You'll see here, and you guys can read this, you have additional airport information below just the standard airport information. And again, this is just kind of at a glance that you guys can look at this. The detailed information that you're responsible for, you will find in an AFD. Okay? On the right side, you have airport data. So the first thing we're going to do is, let's find Aspen. On that map that you're sitting behind, find Aspen. I'll know that you have found it when I see one of you putting a finger on it. So what do you see here?
Grand Junction.
Okay, so where is Aspen from Grand Junction? Do you know?
Yes, sort of.
If you were to leave Aspen and go to Grand Junction, which direction would you go? If you were to leave Aspen and go to Denver, which direction would you go? Okay. If you were going to go to Cheyenne, Wyoming, which direction would you go? So, if you were going to go to Albuquerque, you'd go south. So if you're going to go to Grand Junction, you'd go
West.
west. So If you found Grand Junction, look to the east, right? Okay, boys found it. Girls, tell me when you got it.
Aspen. Ah.
Do you guys remember that whole deal that I talked about kind of at the beginning of this class when I said there are differences between guys and girls? Okay? You guys remember that? So, you know I love you. All right, we found Aspen. Now, let's take a look at Aspen, and let's see what kind of information we might be able to find out from just looking at this map. So take a look. Take a look at the blue around there. First of all, look at the shape and color of the airport itself.
It's circle and it's blue.
It's filled in circle, so what does that mean? And it's blue. What does that mean? Hard surface.
It's longer than 1,000 something.
Control tower. There's a tower here, right? What do those little tick marks on the top, bottom, left, and right mean? What does that mean?
There's fuel available.
Okay? So we have services available here at this airport. So we can tell that at a glance, right? What about the runway orientation? We can kind of tell that it goes roughly northwest to southeast, right? Okay. What else can we tell just looking at the terrain around this little blue circle?
Mountainous.
Well, this could be a bit tricky, right? Because I'm looking at some great big mountains just to the southeast of that. A standard airport operation would probably not be expected at this airport, would it? Good answer. So we can kind of see just by looking at it. Now also, take a look around the circle with that airport and we see another larger segmented circle that is blue dashed. What does that mean? Don't guess. Find it.
Oh, Class D airspace.
Class Delta airspace. So what does that mean? Ding, 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 ding. Time to refresh. Okay? Take a look to the left now of that dashed circle. Aspen, Pitkin County, Sardi, in parentheses, ASE. What does that tell us? Well, that tells us that's Aspen. It's the Aspen Airport. Parentheses, ASE. What does that mean? It's the last three letters of the ICAO identifier for the field. All four letters would be what? KASE, because we know that in the lower 48, all of our airports are going to begin with the letter K if they're big enough. Below that, what do we see? Okay, CT-118.85. What does that mean?
Control tower is at 118.5.
How do you know? That's it, Diego. You go back there, you look at your legend. Take a look in the upper right box right here. Y'all see this? Here's your road map to your air map. Oh, there it is. Look halfway down on the left. Charlie Tango, dash. What does it say beside it? Okay? What does the star mean?
Star indicates operation part-time, C tower frequencies, tabulation for hours of operation.
So you'd have to go to the AFD to find out when this airport's open and closed. This airport does close. We'll get into that later.
Wait, so you...
There's no waiting.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Ask your question.
Can we only fly into this airport at specific times?
Yes.
Okay.
What if there was
Eh.
like a terrible emergency and you had to land?
You land. You land, work out the paperwork later. So, with this, the tower is operated on certain hours, and the airport is operated on certain hours. What's after that? What's after that? In the C, the C with the little circle thing in it, what does that mean? Say that, Diego. CTAF. So after hours, that's going to be the CTAF. Common Traffic Advisory Frequency, yes.
So, the tower and the airport aren't open for the same hours?
No,
Really?
really. There is nothing standard about Aspen. Nothing.
What do you
Is
do in
the
the
tower open for the fraction of the time, and the airport's just open if
So right now, if memory serves, the airport closed, the tower closes at 8 o'clock. And there's 3 more hours that the airport is actually open. It's open until 11 p.m. It opens at 7 a.m. local and 11 p.m. local. Those are the hours of operation of this airport. It is not open between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. Why? Well, because we can't interrupt the people up on Red Mountain with noise. That's exactly right. Yeah. It's everybody here in Aspen wants the airport here. Everybody in Aspen wants to be able to land their big jets, but we just don't want to hear them or see them. Sheeple.
So you're not allowed to fly in or out between 9 and 11 and the jet?
9 and 11. What?
No, the 7 and 11.
Ask that question again.
So, what's the rule with 9 and 11? 7 and 11. 7. Okay.
The airport is open between 7 and 11. The tower is open between 7 and 8 p.m.
Okay.
After the hours of 11 p.m. and until the hour of 7 a.m., there are no airport operations. Where do you find that information? AFD. We'll get to that. So we see that. Now after that C, we see something else. Said ATIS. What is that?
is it like the frequency, like the radio you use?
Thank you, gentlemen. So we want to get the weather. We can pull up the weather on 120.4. And depending upon your altitude, you can be somewhere 18, 20 miles out if you're kind of low, 35 miles out if you're high, to start picking up your weather. Because what do you have to know before that you talk to the approach or the tower? You have to know your information. Because they ain't got time for that. So you've got to know that before you start talking to somebody. Because you may find some information there that you go, ooh, nope, not today. I got to go somewhere else. All right? So your ATIS is on 120.4. Next line, what do we have? 7838, what does that mean? I'm sorry? Okay, that's going to be the elevation in feet of that airport. Sort of. 7838 is going to be the upper end of that, and that is at the approach end of runway tree. At 15, it's closer to 7648. There's about 200 feet difference between both ends of that runway. It slopes down to the north, which is kind of odd, but it slopes down to the north. Now, are you going to be able to see that on this? No. Where do you have to go to get it? AFD. Okay, star with the little L, what does that mean? I'm sorry? Okay, we got some light things going on there. 80, what does that mean? So we drop off, we move the decimal to the left 2 places, and so 80 means what? 8,000. So the length of the longest runway at an airport, that's going to be represented there. And in this case, it's 8,000 feet long.
Which runway is that?
We only have one.
Oh, right. I was just confused with the 3315.
Okay. After that, we see 122.95. What do we got?
Is that the radio frequency?
What is it? Okay, that is the Unicom. Unicom. So if you're taxiing, if you want to talk to somebody, and let's just say that it's that you've done your self-announcement on 118.95, excuse me, 118.85, and it's after 8 o'clock, the tower's closed, but you're landing. Now, as you taxi, you'll communicate on 122.95 on the Unicom frequency. Below that, you see something that says RP. What does RP stand for? 33. Special conditions exist here at this airport. Yep, and there's a bunch of them. Where do you find that information? AFD. So, for instance, if we look here at the airport, here's Aspen-Pitkin County Airport. Let's go to the AFD. This is the Airport Facility Directory. So when we look here, we got a lot of stuff in those airport remarks. If ever you're wanting to fly into someplace for the first time, and especially if you're if that ink is still wet on that certificate of yours, this would not be the airport to do it. In fact, it is strongly recommended that before you fly into this airport for the first time, you fly in and out with a pilot that knows the procedures. Because a lot of people are not used to maneuvering as close to the ground as we maneuver. They're not used to the snow mass approach. What's the snow mass approach? It's not on there. What is the oh my God, I'm spacing here right. The Roaring Fork departure. There's a lot of local knowledge stuff that goes on here that's not going to be in this. So this is why you want to come in and out of here at least the first time with somebody who has. Coming in here at night, guess what you have to be? You're going to find out, because part of your assignment next is going to be your AFDs. But we're going to stick to the charts for now, because you're going to need to know all of the different performance and procedural operational information for this airport and any airport that you intend to land at. Okay? Back to the maps. Let's take a look here. I see something here. I see a G with a diamond in it. What do we got? Glider operations. Also, I see something there with an H on it. Hang gliders. Okay. I see something there. I see an R with a circle in it. What's that? There is a grass strip up on top of that ridge up there near Wildcat. Okay, there's a grass strip up there.
Oh, it's like an emergency airport.
Well, no, it's private. But if you had to land somewhere, that's, before I landed somewhere else, I'd probably think about that. In an emergency, you can do anything you want. You just have to be prepared to explain it later. Boys, stay with me. Okay? I see these little black boxes. I see something down here. I see ranch. I see ski area. I see something down, so you see these little boxes there. Why would those be there?
Point out interesting landmarks.
Landmarks that you might readily identify for orientation. I see a red flag up there. What's that red flag for? Don't guess.
Name VPXYZ.
There's a flag up there with something called the ridge. What's that flag for?
Landmark?
Yeah.
It's a visual checkpoint. Right there, visual checkpoint. Some cases they may say, call when you have the ridge in sight. Call when you're past the ridge. Shopping malls, lakes, towers, things like that can be visual elements that you may be expected to know when you are coming into or taking off from an airport. So that's kind of what that is. What's that yellow stuff where it says Aspen? It indicates a populated community. So with that, there are certain operational considerations there when you're over a community where people live. Would this be considered densely populated? Probably not. Taylor. Tate. Oh, class is about over? All right, well, okay. Now, tonight, what are you going to download? What are you going to download?
The aeronautical chart user stuff.
Okay, what are you going to be reviewing? You're going to be looking at the sectional maps and the TACs, the terminal area charts, and you're going to bring your AFDs. Right?
Yes.
Good answer. Get out.